repeat myself, which I'm very good at doing. My most formidable task each year is the introduction of the head table for JROTC Night, because the number of guests we introduce. So let me get right to it. Starting from my far left, let me introduce to you James Monroe High School JROTC Cadet Company Commander, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Cassandra Araujo. Thank you. Next to her is James Monroe High School JROTC Senior Instructor, First Sergeant Charles Buhica, United States Army, retired. Next, we have the better half of that duo, Mrs. Trini Buhica. Next to her, LA Unified School District JROTC All-City Cadet Colonel from Manual Arts High School, Cadet Colonel Diana Torres. As they say at JROTC, she is the boss. Next to her is James Monroe High School Principal, Mr. Christopher Rosas. And to my immediate left, his lovely wife, Mrs. Rose Rosas. Let me introduce myself. I'm Major Sandor X. Mayuga, United States Air Force retired, the President of the British United Services. I'm going to skip over our guest speaker momentarily, and I will introduce him later. But let me introduce to his right, Chief Warrant Officer for Alice Breslow, State Military Reserve. Next is a gentleman who needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. Los Angeles Unified School District JROTC Officer in Charge, Lieutenant Colonel Ted McDonald, United States Army, retired. To his right, let me introduce to you the British United Services Club Junior ROTC Program Coordinator, Basil Johnson, Esquire. And to my far right, Vice President Robert B. Edmonds, MBE, the Queen's Royal Surrey Regiment. Let me now call upon Basil Johnson to come up and introduce some of our JROTC guests tonight.
These are the, is this thing on? Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Okay. If I'm going to introduce our members of the three different JROTC units, what we call below the salt. We're the head table, we're the important guys. You're below the salt and you're even more important. Okay, so I'm going to skip the people who are already been introduced at the head table. These are the others. So from James Monroe High School, there's the instructor, Sergeant First Class, Ricardo Magdaleno. The first platoon leader, Cadet Major Lahija? Oh, you know what I mean? Okay. Thank you. I was born in England, I don't speak American too well. And the second platoon leader, Cadet Captain Eligio Cruz Jr. Cadet. Again, this is Company Sergeant Major Brandon Munoz. lady was a soloist at the big ceremony we had on the 7th. There's Miss Carolyn Morgan. And we applaud. She knows how to sing the British national anthem. Brings tears to my eyes. From Manual Arts High School, the senior instructor, Chief Vernon Dayton. First platoon leader, Cadet Major Alejandra Lopez. Second platoon leader, Cadet Captain Jennifer Cabrera. And Guide and Bearer, Cadet Sergeant First Class Sergio Corona. From Verdugo Hills High School, Senior Instructor, First Sergeant Hardy Murray. And his instructor, mate, Sergeant First Class Rodney Scott. Company Commander, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Danielle Carlin. First Platoon Leader, Cadet Major Andrew Gregoire. Andrew, are you French?
Yes.
Gregoire. Pronounce it correctly?
Yes.
Good. And second platoon leader, Cadet Major Alina Malijas. Guide and Bearer, Cadet Sergeant Major Joaquin Gonzalez.
Thank you, Basil. I will send you my CDs on Spanish pronunciations. That's not fair. My grandmother and mother were born in Santo Domingo, and so I was sort of raised with that. It's a little different. It's being a Liverpudlian. Now it's my pleasure to introduce some of our other guests, prospective members and other guests tonight of the British United Services Club. Let me first of all commend our member Ian Scone-Rees, who is our most enthusiastic recruiter of prospective new members. And we applaud that effort, and I want to publicly acknowledge you, Ian. Thank you very much. It's genuinely appreciated. I'd like to underscore the excellent example that Ian sets for the rest of the membership in that regard. Now, and Ian, you can leave your donation here in an hour. Okay, first guest of Ian tonight is the Reverend Charles Chuck Robertson, Doctor of Ministry.
Be upstanding.
Be upstanding. Chuck is a native of Titusville, Pennsylvania, and grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. He enlisted in the U.S. Army Reserves in 1956 while in high school and served during the Cold War. He was honorably discharged in 1964. Now I know you're all running your calculations as to how old he is being in high school in 1956, so we'll have a contest as to who computes that. The Reverend Chuck Robertson retired from 42 years of active ministry in the Presbyterian Church in 2008. He served as a campus pastor in the San Francisco Bay Area for 5 years during the late 60s, which must have been an exciting time.
It was.
In the early 1970s, he served the church in Krakow, Poland for 3 years, where he met the Metropolitan Archbishop, Cardinal Karol Wojtyła, who later became Pope John Paul II. He also taught at the Silesian University in Katowice for 2 years. In 2006, he was honored to preach the 85th annual Easter Sunrise service in the Hollywood Bowl. He is a member of the St. Andrew Society and a member of Clan Donachie. Welcome to the British United Services Club.
And may I add that when I was at Arsenal Technical High School in Indianapolis, I was a member of JROTC.
Touche. Thank you. The next guest of Ian Scone Rees is, and this is a matter of professional courtesy, Bonifacio Bonnie Garcia. Please stand. While I attempt to address you. An amateur military historian, Bonnie is an attorney who is the managing partner and founder of the law firm of GCR LLP, which has offices in San Diego, Glendale, Oakland, and Denver. He began his legal career as a commercial litigator and spent more than 12 years handling complex litigation and real estate matters. He represents school districts, community college districts, special districts, cities, and other governmental entities throughout the state of California. Among other things, he serves as general counsel to the Garvey School District and the Rio Hondo Community College District, and as special counsel to the Delano Mosquito Abatement District and the Bassett Unified School District. He serves as chief labor negotiator for school districts throughout California. He is a graduate of the Harvard Law School, and in his spare time, he served as adjunct professor of legal history at Loyola Marymount University and serves on the Board of Trustees, Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, the Board of Directors of Opus Caritatis of Los Angeles, the Board of Trustees of Marymount College in Palos Verdes, and the Board of Directors of the Advancement Project of Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. He's been an avid reader and an amateur historian all his life, with particular interest in all sorts of military history and theology. Bonnie, welcome to the British United Services Club. And let me also introduce you all to his lovely wife, Laura Garcia. Laura, please stand with me. The next guest of Ian Scone Rees is a kindred spirit. She has indeed attained the most important rank in all of military service, a United States Air Force Major. Let me introduce you to Sandra Sokol. As I said, a major in the United States Air Force, retired, commanded troops in Saudi Arabia, Greenland, and New Mexico. Thule is pretty cold in December, isn't it? After retiring as a major from the U.S. Air Force, where she commanded troops, as I said, in Saudi Arabia, Greenland, and New Mexico, she had a second career as an analyst with the Government Accountability Office, researching various topics for the U.S. Congress. You know, when they say in the news articles, the GAO says, that's Sandra Sokol. Between the two careers, she managed a resort in Belize, lived on a sailboat in Washington State, and backpacked in Central and South America. She is happily married to Patrick Moffat, who we'll get to in a minute, and is collecting timeshares so they can live on the road forever, cavorting the resort to resort. She too is a member of the St. Andrew Society. Welcome, Sandra, to the BUSC. And let me also introduce to you her sister Janine, who's joining us as a recent transplant from North Carolina.
Hi, y'all.
Is Patrick Moffat, United States Marine Corps. Patrick, welcome. Patrick is an industrial environmental hygienist with 30 years of experience dealing with buildings compromised by floods, fires, chemical spills, viruses, molds, bacteria that affect people. Patrick teaches and lectures across the world about how to clean and or remediate contaminated environments while protecting the workers and the inhabitants and the environment. He has written 5 books, over 50 technical articles, and several white papers. Patrick's history includes being a U.S. Marine and a paramedic. He is a connoisseur of Scotch whiskey. This is more than a pause. I think half the membership is just drooling with envy with that one. A connoisseur of Scotch whiskey with his own extensive private collection. Aha! Expect visitors later on tonight, Patrick. He is proudly married to Major Sandra Sokol Moffat and also a member of the St. Andrew Society. Welcome, Patrick. Next, I'd like to invite other guests of our members. Let me introduce, first of all, Carol Auslander, spouse of Norman Auslander, Esquire, United States Army. Carol. I'd like to introduce Cynthia Benton. Cynthia? She has the burden of being attached to Captain John Benton of the United States Army. Let me also introduce Eve Khalsa, who is here tonight with her husband, Group Captain Bakshi Khalsa, Indian Air Force. And I'd love to introduce to you another guest who is no stranger to the British United Services Club, Kathy Dunham, guest of John Massey, Esquire, MBE. Another frequent guest, we love to see her always, Eileen Scone Reese. And finally, Trinette Hooker, married to our member Charles Hooker, United States Army. Trinette? I hope I haven't forgotten anyone.
You forgot?
Oh! Yes, you're there.
Forgot Lieutenant L.J. Fay.
Yeah, you have to make your reservations earlier there, Harry, and give us a guess. Let me introduce another prospective member who has visited us before, and in fact was one of our speakers at the Ladies' Night last year.
Outstanding.
Navy Lieutenant L.J. Fay, United States. LJ is from Hawaii and has the most mellifluous first name that I daren't attempt to pronounce, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And later on tonight, if you want to be charmed, ask her what her first name is, and she will gladly tell you. Great. Now, let me reintroduce Basil Johnson, our JROTC chair, who will call upon various speakers prior to the introduction of our main speaker for the evening. Basil?
We now have some short speeches by people keenly involved in the JROTC. So we'll hear their feelings about the aspects of this incredible organization. The first one to speak to us will be Lieutenant Colonel Ted McDonald, who's in charge of the entire program on behalf of the Los Angeles Unified School District.
It's working.
I guess it works. Can everybody hear me? If not, I will just talk loud.
Use your magic.
Yes. At my age, I'm not sure I still have one. But I must say that for the members of the British United Service Club, for what you do for the young people in Los Angeles Unified School District, there is no 2 or 3 other service organizations, and I belong to the American Legion and the VFW and a few others which I will not name. But the British United Service Club does more for JROTC than any other service organization. And some of those organizations are the largest in the state of California, but the BUSC does twice as much as the next service type of organization. So those of you that are not British United Service Club members here tonight, let's give them a hand, dog. Their time, their effort, and what they do for these young people that you see here tonight and the other 5,000 that are not here tonight I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart and all my instructors' hearts, First Sergeant Hika, Chief Dayton, and First Sergeant Murray. It's just amazing, and we thank you. Please keep it up. And the trophies and the dinners that you have here teach us about how British protocol should be. So we need this every once in a while. Because sometimes, you know, we get lackadaisical about how we eat and what we do and how we think and what we say. So to have a little class once a year, we need it more often. How about once a quarter? Okay, that's just a joke. But if you want to, we can try. So I thank you, but I want to thank the high schools that are here, James Monroe, Manual Arts, and the Duke Rios, and the cadets that are here. You just cannot really realize how amazing these young cadets are until you work with them on a daily basis. All of my instructors will tell you, even though we do get paid for what we do, if we were rich and had plenty of money, we would do it free because of these young people. You see some of the best young people in America sitting in this room here tonight. And you just have to be in the classroom to see the quality persons, each one of them. We've got young men and young women here tonight. And the leadership that they display in the high schools, and my 3 instructors, and we've got, I believe, 6 of my instructors here tonight, because we have the other sergeants that are with them. Let's see, Sergeant Magdaleno from Monroe, where is he?
Right here.
He's here. Chief Dayton, did you bring anyone else with you?
No.
Okay. And First Sergeant, I believe you did bring the Sergeant, yes. So it's Sergeant Scott. It's amazing what these instructors do too. They're retired from the military. They from their military retirement checks in 20 more years. You know, they don't have to do this teaching. They don't have to do it. They do it either because their wife wants more money or because they love it. But I know Sergeant Magdaleno does it because he loves it. It's just what they do because they want to do it. I don't have to be up here doing this. See, I'm an old guy now. I don't have to do this. I'm here only because I love it too. These young people motivate me to keep on keeping on. And what you do, you please keep on keeping on, because don't slack. We need you to help, to show. This is like a classroom tonight to show. I know it's not exactly how the Brits do it in England, because you got too many Americans in the room. Downgrade what the Brits really do. He's got a good American. What I'm saying is, thank you for what you do, even teaching us, you know, about proper etiquette and how to be and how to act. So keep that up too, and so you don't, make sure you continue. So just keep your activities flowing. I think I was going to say something else tonight, but trying to be silly, I forgot what it was. So I guess it's time for me to sit down and let the next speaker come. Thank you again.
Our next speaker is the All-City Cadet Colonel, Diana Torres, from Manual Arts High School.
Good evening. Chairman Basil Johnson, members of the British United Services Club, distinguished guests, visitors, instructors, and fellow cadets. I am Cadet Colonel Diana Torres, and I'm the All-City Colonel for the Los Angeles Unified School District JROTC program. It is a great pleasure to be standing here before you at this very special ceremony. I would like to congratulate this year's top 3 winners of the company drill competition. James Monroe High School, 1st place, Manual Arts High School, 2nd place, and Verdugo Hills High School, 3rd place. Their success reflects the amount of motivation and dedication these cadets have, and for that, we are proud. Most individuals do not acknowledge the fact that drill teaches life lessons, such as self-discipline and perseverance. These cadets have proven this. Apart from congratulating the winners, I would like to thank each and every member of the British United Service Club for continuing to support, sponsor, and provide this valuable award to the cadets of the LAUSD for the past 69 years. Again, thank you very much for inviting us to be part of this evening's event.
She reminded me of one more thing. She is the #1 cadet out of 5,000 cadets in Los Angeles Unified School District. So let's give her one more hand.
Good comments. 1 out of 5,000. I've never felt anything like that. 1 out of 500, 1 out of 50. My wife thinks 1 out of 5. The next 3 speakers are all from Monroe High School, and the first is the school principal, Mr. Christopher Rosas.
Well, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? Of course. Do your magic. Battery. Okay, well, I'll talk a little louder. So on behalf of James Monroe High School, I wanted to thank the British United Services Club for all that you do to support our young people, and namely JROTC. What a great example at James Monroe, the pride, the integrity, the respect, and the honor that our young cadets show the rest of our student body day in and day out, not to mention all the community service and all the hard work that they pride themselves on for our campus and for our school and for our student population. So I want a special thanks to Sergeant Magdaleno and First Sergeant Mahica for shaping our young people and really setting an outstanding example of what teenagers really can be in our country today. And I also want to thank, again, the British United Services Club for having Monroe High School here and honoring us again. And what a great honor, and as Colonel McDonald said, keep on keeping on. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Our next speaker is the senior instructor, First Sergeant, I should say, Charles Mujica. Charles, before you talk, I want to compliment you on the training you're giving to your cadets. When we were at the big show 8 days ago, your cadets treated us so well, guided us to our seats, and one of the young cadets came up to me, a young lady, and said, "What would you like to drink?" And I thought, I haven't had that kind of an offer in a long time. So I said, "I'll have a Johnny Walker Red Label on the rocks." And she didn't know what I was talking about. So between you and Sergeant Ricardo, you're doing a great job protecting these ladies from the real life. So,
I don't think the mic is working that well, so thank you, Basil. Thank you, the British United Service Club, Dall City Colonel, Manuel Lards and Madruga High School for being here. It's with real humbling effect on me every time I come here. I've been coming here since 1998, when I first started working at Monroe High School, and I came here when I was at Hollywood High School, and it's nice to be back almost every year. I missed 1 year because of back surgery. But that's okay. I came back and I'm good to go. I'd like to thank my wife, because truly, without the dedication that she gives and the time that she puts in, we would not be able to do we've done over 120 events so far this year. Without her driving, doing the girls' hair, making sure they're good to go, we couldn't do everything that we do. Sergeant Moreno for doing drill, that's his specialty. I kind of do the paperwork, you know, so I do the inside stuff. So without Sergeant Moreno's help, I wouldn't have won this either. But I'd also like to mention that besides drill, Chief just told me he's getting ready to perform at the Army Ball pretty soon. So that's a big hooah for his drill team. Our team, we went to Washington D.C. last year to compete in the Academic Bowl. We were one of 24 schools out of the world to compete. This year we're going back. We're going back for the leadership side, and we had to study, I think, two generals you might have heard of, General MacArthur, and I think he was around for a while, and the other, well, I forget the other general name.
Arthur Marshall.
And Marshall, General Marshall. So these cadets had to study for months those two leadership manuals, and of course our curriculum on leadership. And now they're going back to compete against 39 other teams from around the world in Washington, D.C. So we're fortunate to go back. My wife will be going. She does the girls' hairs over there. All the members are girls this year. Last year we had 2 boys and 2 girls. This time she gets to stay at the dorm with the girls, so they can get their hair done first thing in the morning. So we're ready for that. So again, thank you, British United Service Club, for the trophy. It's really meaningful to me. When I first started, this is my first event I came to. It was the British United Service Club doing with Diana, the All-City Colonel, who is now a lawyer in Los Angeles, Diana Bison. So it was kind of a, wow, this is like my first event, and I hope when I leave here in 4 more years, it's my last event. When I put it down and go away. Thank you again.
Our final speaker is the Cadet Company Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Cassandra Arego. Oh, I thought you were over there.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Cassandra Aravo, the commander from James Monroe High School. And I just want to start off by saying thank you to the British United Service Club, because without your support we would not be here today. And honestly, it's really great that you all support the Army JROTC program, because I know I'm not just speaking for myself when I say that ROTC has been a really big part of my life, so I know as well for the All-City Colonel and all the cadets present here today. And thank you to everyone for just supporting us, constantly supporting us. Thank you to Colonel McDonald for being here with us. My principal, Mr. Rosas, our instructors, Sergeant Micheleno, First Sergeant Mojica, because without them we wouldn't be here today. And thank you to Ladisha Corder, Ladisha Corder, Eligio Cruz, and Brandon Munoz. Those were the 3 cadets that competed with me and that also were commanders for All-City Company. And without their dedication, I would not be here today, and without my dedication as well. So thank you all for supporting us, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you all, and
Can I say one other?
oh yeah, yes.
If you noticed one thing, year after year after year, most of the leaders who come up here are what sex? Females. Most of my schools, the leaders are females. The males are not out-achieving the females. So it seems like there's a shift. So somewhere down the road, the British United Service Club is going to get more females, I guess.
We're trying.
Ladies are taking over. At least in my program, they're taking over. You see them year after year. There's females, right?
They took over.
Seldom do we get a male up here. So I don't know what's happening, but both these schools, the commanders are females. I just wanted to see if you noticed.
Thank you, Jen. Maybe we can get a GAO study of. Well, thank you all very much, and let me just say that before I introduce our speaker for tonight, I just ask of the JROTC cadets, it is our privilege to support you and to have supported the JROTC program in Los Angeles for 69 consecutive years. And we certainly hope to do so for 69 more consecutive years, if not longer. But the British United Services Club only asks one thing of the cadets. And that is that you live your life by the cadet creed that I read earlier tonight. You need to make that part of your character, to study it, not to give it lip service, but to live your life. Because you are the future of this country. You are the future of your community, your state, and this country. And all of us will be retired and inactive. And the torch of leadership of the future is being passed to you. As you go off to college, and whatever educational path you pursue, and you get jobs and become responsible citizens, remember to live your life by that JROTC creed, because you will be leaders and you will do well by your community and your state and your country. And please do that. Don't ever give it lip service and don't ignore it. Yeah. Thank you all. Now let me introduce our senior officer present, Captain Lloyd Hoover, United States Navy retired. Lloyd? And now it's my privilege to introduce our speaker for this evening, Lieutenant Colonel Mark R. Breslow, United States Army, retired. Colonel Breslow is the JROTC Senior Army Instructor at Kennedy High School in La Palma, California, part of the Anaheim Union School District. He's born in Santa Monica. He's a 1974 graduate of the University of Southern California. He was commissioned a second lieutenant and assigned to the Signal Corps. In reading his extensive bio, which appeared in this month's bulletin, I wanted to highlight a couple of areas. Number one, his extensive military education. He attended, among other things, the United States Marine Corps Communications Officers School, Foreign Area Officers Course, the Mid-East Studies Course, and Defense Language Institute course. And he was a military observer to the United Nations Truce Supervision Organization in U.S. Army Command and General and the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College. What I wanted to do by emphasizing that was to emphasize to the cadets the importance of education and of continuing your education even after you're through with formal schooling of high school and college. You never stop learning, and you never stop learning how to be a good leader and how to educate yourself to make a difference. Assignments. The colonel was assigned and has had assignments in South Korea, Syria, Lebanon, the obligatory tour at the Pentagon, Saudi Arabia, participation in Desert Storm, Belgium, Germany, and Iraq. He has served with the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and deployments, Special Operations Forces. He's a Pentagon staff officer, as I said. He also was a part of the 40th Infantry Division, the state military headquarters, and the headquarters multinational force Baghdad under the direction of General David Petraeus. Colonel Breslow also has another unique distinction, a family of JROTC and ROTC. His daughter, Major Anastasia Breslow, his son, Captain William Breslow, and his son-in-law, Captain Merlin Kynaston, all attended JROTC, ROTC, and served in Iraq. Mark Breslow's wife, Alice, seated here tonight, is a Chief Warrant Officer 4 in the State Defense Force, State Military Reserve. Tonight, he will draw from his experiences to describe the impact of JROTC on high school students and on the nation. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Breslow.
I'll probably dispense with the microphone and just go with volume. Can everybody hear me? Signal Battalion at Belgium Canadians. I was then transferred to Germany and became the Deputy Commander of the 7th Signal Brigade. My family and I returned to the United States when I took command of the Southern California Recruiting Battalion. Finally, I retired after 26 years from the Army after one last tour as the Deputy Commander of the 35th Signal Brigade Airborne at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I then went back to junior ROTC. I say back because that is where my military journey began in 1967, long before I took the oath as an officer and joined the Army. I attended Van Nuys High School and immediately joined the JROTC because I already knew I wanted to be in the Army. Like many of my students today, I was totally immersed in ROTC. The rifle team, the drill team, Raiders, color guard, and numerous leadership positions, eventually becoming the Cadet Battalion Commander. I did not go to high school. I went to JROTC. And while at school, I attended the other classes. JROTC kept me in school, and it gave me a goal to achieve and a direction for my life. It was my JROTC instructor who interested me in becoming an officer. At that time, we only had one instructor to a school. He was Sergeant First Class John P. Tohill, and I will always remember him. He encouraged me to go to college, to seek out senior ROTC, and to get a commission. This is the same time that my school counselor told me that I would not be going to college. I proved him wrong, and eventually I obtained a master's degree in education. If it had not been for JROTC and Sergeant First Class Tohill, I may not have gone to college. He ensured that that happened in my life. Now I have an opportunity to pay that debt to him. JROTC provides that same motivation and direction to thousands of other high school students every year across this nation. I observe my cadets struggle, achieve, graduate, and move on to successful lives after high school. For several of these cadets, JROTC kept them in school and inspired them to graduate as it did for me. As an instructor, I take special pride when I see a cadet graduate who would have dropped out except for the motivation provided in JROTC. JROTC is not just an elective to these students. It is not only a class, it is a total program comprising activities, multiple subjects, including citizenship, leadership, finances, communications, government, history, military skills, drill, health, first aid, and physical fitness. JROTC provides a battalion organization that allows for leadership opportunities for our Let 3 and Let 4 cadets. The origins of JROTC can be traced back to West Point. The U.S. Military Academy is the beginning of formal military training in the United States, as it is for JROTC. The first commandant was Captain Alden Partridge. He was not remarkable at West Point, but he made his mark by developing the idea that military training and discipline should be applied to civilian colleges. He accomplished this in 1819 with the establishment of Norwich College, the first civilian military academy. During the Civil War in 1862, Congress recognized the need for trained officers and included a requirement for land-grant colleges to provide for military training for their male students, and for the Army to provide officers to provide that instruction. This is the genesis of today's current senior ROTC. Many outstanding officers were instructors, to include Generals John J. Pershing and George Marshall. Then in 1916, with our involvement in World War I looming, Congress expanded the military and increased and expanded military training with the National Defense Act of 1916. It is this act that creates the modern version of ROTC and names the program ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps. It also established the training of high school students in the JROTC program and directs the Army to provide instructors. The program began with 6 schools. Originally, it was viewed as a source of enlisted recruits and officer candidates. Today, its mission is less martial and directed to developing the moral, physical, and educational characteristics of high school students. Its specific mission is to motivate young people to become better citizens. Some of the primary means to do this is through leadership and developing responsible, honest cadets. Today, Army JROTC has 1,645 units in high schools in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, the territories, in DoD high schools overseas in Germany, Italy, Belgium, Korea, and Japan. The cadet population is 281,000, making JROTC one of the largest youth organizations in the nation. Its impact is felt in high schools, communities, and states throughout the United States. Cadets support their schools, communities, by participating in color guard ceremonies, marching in parades, providing honor guards, assisting in food and blood drives, preparing for disaster relief, conducting first aid, and dealing with emergencies, and numerous other volunteer activities. Every year, my cadets provide traffic control and safety patrols for Wings, Wheels, and Rotors Air Show at the Joint Forces Training Base at Los Alamitos. We annually participate in the Orange County Veterans Day Parade in La Palma. Every year, we send 30 cadets to operate games for the local community Halloween carnival, providing a safe place for young children to have their Halloween. Kennedy cadets also present the colors and provide an honor guard to the La Palma City Memorial Celebration. These are a few of the activities cadets participate in to support and honor their communities. However, JROTC instills a greater sense of service after graduation. Cadets join the military by their thousands each year to continue their service to the nation. I did so in 1974. My daughter did so in 1999, starting in JROTC at Karlsruhe American High School in Germany and continuing at UC Berkeley. My son did so in 1996. He started at Shape American High School in Belgium, and he joined the Army Reserve. My daughter is now a major with the 101st Airborne Division. She has 3 combat tours. And my son, a captain, is currently on his 4th combat tour in Afghanistan. I'm proud of their path and of their service, but they are not the only examples of this type of dedicated service. My JROTC program produces 3 to 5 cadets every year who go on to join the service or to go on to senior ROTC. And I had a unique opportunity to serve with some of my cadets on active duty in the Iraqi combat zone in 2007, and to see firsthand their service and achievements. In 2006, after 6 years as a JROTC instructor, having been retired from the Army for 6 years, I was recalled to active duty for service in Iraq at the Multinational Force Headquarters at Camp Victory as the Deputy Secretary of the Combined and Joint Staff, working for General Petraeus. While I was there, 3 of my former cadets were deployed to the area around Baghdad. Spec 4 Andy Melvin, a helicopter mechanic, Spec 4 Harold Adams, a CAV scout, and Spec 4 Ryan Foss, an intel analyst. I had the opportunity to visit with them on several occasions and observe their outstanding performances, talk to their supervisors, and see them succeed in the most trying circumstances. When Harold provided escort for his commanding officer on trips to Camp Victory, he always came by to check in. When Ryan Foss, the grandson of Medal of Honor awardee Joe Foss, was wounded during a rocket attack, his platoon sergeant called me to assure me that he was okay and recovering. I was able to call his parents, to whom I knew, and assure them that Ryan was recovering. And then I would go see him. I was able to arrange a flight and went to his forward operating base and ensured he was okay. We had a great visit and he fully recovered. I was fortunate in a rare circumstance to be able to serve with my cadets and to see the results of the initial training that I gave these soldiers. I'm extremely proud of them and of the other 20+ cadets from Kennedy that have served in the war zone. After a year in Iraq, I returned to the classroom in teaching JROTC. It was then that I realized something else, just how much hard work and how stressful being a JROTC instructor is. I experienced less stress in Iraq working for the commanding general than in the classroom at Kennedy in constant contact with demanding high school students every minute of the working day. But it is exactly this contact that motivates thousands of retired soldiers who choose to do the job of instructing junior ROTC. We still have the ability to touch and sometimes change the direction of a cadet's life. I had originally wanted to be a history teacher. History was a hobby of mine even before I majored in it at USC. I realized as I followed the path to teaching history that it would take me 2 years of college before I would be credentialed and be able to enter a classroom. After checking about JROTC, I discovered that my master's degree in education and my academic record qualified me to obtain a California credential in JROTC in adult education. With that knowledge, I applied to Cadet Command and was certified in teaching just 20 days after retiring. However, JROTC was still not my final goal. I still wanted to teach history. So I spent 2 years in college, and I received a credential in history while teaching ROTC. But I realized while doing my student teaching just how restrictive conventional teaching is. Most teachers have no latitude in what they teach and have contact with their students for about an hour a day. As a JROTC instructor, I have great discretion in what subjects I teach, how long I can spend on a subject, the level of detail and the sequencing of my lessons. I can teach what a history teacher does not have time to teach. One time after teaching a lesson on the origins of World War II in the Pacific, in which I detailed the Japanese war in China, the US trade embargo to end that war, and the strategic position the US held in the Philippines that was a threat to Japanese expansion plans, a student thanked me for explaining that little piece of history. You see, his history teacher did not have enough time to detail the issue. So he told his class that the Japanese attacked the United States because we wouldn't let Japan trade with Germany. I have time to recreate detailed history, and I tell it as close as I can to the facts. My students trust me because they know I'll give them a straight answer, and not just a convenient one. This is one of the reasons my students talk and confide in me and my teaching partner, First Sergeant Shaw. JROTC instructors can spend the time to build relationships and gain trust because with two of us, we spend more time talking with students than the 1 hour conventional teacher has. We listen to them. We try to assist them in dealing with their challenges. My cadets spend a great deal of time around the ROTC classroom. They are there before class, during lunch, and after school. Often as I'm going home around 1600 in the afternoon, I have to remind them to go home. School is over. You can see the cadets know this. These cadets see ROTC as more than a class. It becomes a social environment that provides them a safe place to express themselves, make and maintain friends, to discuss problems, receive guidance and advice. This is a fundamental that makes JROTC a vital program on the high school campus. This dynamic was recognized by the Western Accreditation of Schools and Colleges, which has to accredit every high school every 3 to 6 years. The credentialing reports for Kennedy High School for 2 consecutive reports in 2004 and 2007, reported by the inspection team, noted that JROTC provided students with direction and was a critical program on campus for students. The JROTC was the only program recognized in both of those reports. Yet with all of this great impact, with its achievements and results, JROTC is moving into difficult times. In a period of military drawdowns and increasing questions about our involvement in foreign conflicts, JROTC is a visible program at the community level. Often it becomes the target of anti-military protests from people who don't know what this program does. 6 years ago, the San Francisco School Board, in a burst of anti-militarism directed against the administration, unilaterally decided to terminate all of the JROTC programs. This was done against the wishes of hundreds of students, parents, and of several community leaders. They did later rescind their positions. JROTC is still in San Francisco. 5 years ago, the Army started an expansion program with the addition of 15 new schools. Their goal was to add 250 new units across the nation. These programs would serve all of the 225 schools on the JROTC waiting list. However, budget constraints from the War on Terror curtailed these plans, and few programs were actually added. In the last few years, JROTC budgets have shrunk, support for staff have reduced, and now with sequestration, we are on notice that there may be further budget impacts. JROTC is holding steady at the school level, and in some places, units are expanding due to the hard work of instructors. However, it is not expanding into new schools and communities. This is an important youth program that efficiently expands the few dollars it receives. It effectively supports schools, communities, and most importantly, students. JROTC should be expanded at each school and introduced into additional communities. It is a vital tool to teach citizenship, leadership, and responsibility. The support of the British United Services Club is vital to the survival of junior ROTC and to convincing both the government and local communities to expand this great program. I thank you for all you do for us, the instructors and cadets of the JROTC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Colonel Breslow, for those inspiring comments and educating us all even further on the role of JROTC and how important it is to not only our youth, but to our community and country. It's my pleasure now to bestow upon you the traditional recognition of being a speaker here at the British United Services Club. It's our wall plaque with our crest of arms for the British United Services Club. Thank you very much. Keep this as a memento of your presentation tonight. Thank you. Thank you. let me put the membership at ease. I have him in a hammerlock for he and his wife to join the membership of the club, and I hope to have an application in hand very shortly. Thank you very much. Now, briefly, before we adjourn, I have a few business matters to take care of. Next executive committee meeting will be next